This time I'm going to show you how to make this really sweet little Easter gift. So I'll show you how to make the gift bag, but also inside here, if I just open it up, I'm going to show you how to decorate a little bucket, which is then filled with Easter eggs. So let's just take this out and I can show you that I've just decorated with 3 different styles of felt flowers and a couple of leaves. So it's a really quick project, and of course it doesn't just have to be for Easter time. It could be for a Mother's Day gift, or make the flowers in Christmassy fabrics and put some little Christmassy gifts inside there as well. So really simple, loads of fun, very easy to make for even a beginner sewer. Here's how we do it. I've chosen 3 colours of felt for my flowers, and the first one I'm going to make is the one with the loopy kind of petals. So I'm going to do this in blue. So I'm going to cut a strip of fabric approximately 2 inches or 5 centimetres in length. And this doesn't have to be absolutely perfectly accurate, so I'm just kind of cutting this by eye. If you wanted to measure and mark that, if you're not too confident, then of course you can. Now from one fabric strip like this, which comes from a felt pack, I can get 2 of my little flowers. So this one is 9 inches long. I'm going to cut that felt in half, so it measures 4.5 inches. And then fold this in half again. And I'm going to cut small snips almost up to the end. So I'm leaving about 1/4 inch or 5 or 6 millimeters spare at the end. And I want these to be quite close together. So my scissors are struggling to cut right up to the point here. So I'm cutting these around about 1/8 inch or 2 or 3 centimeters apart, so quite close together. And we'll cut all the way along so I can make almost like a fringe from it. So just lining up the edges, cutting through both layers. Remember the folds on this side, and leaving a little bit at the top, otherwise I'll be cutting all the way through the felt. Just keep snipping all the way across. And then I'm simply going to roll it up. So I'm going to take a little bit of wet glue. This is a Gutermann HT2, which is ideal because it gives me a little bit of time before the glue dries. So I'm going to pop a little bit on the end here, but it's a really strong glue. So once it's dried, this isn't going to come undone. And I'm just going to carry on dotting just a small amount of glue and roll up the end. Try and keep this part flat and just keep rolling. So take your time with it. The 2 ends won't be even when you get to the end. One will have kind of grown a little bit, but that's fine. So let's wrap over the end there and then just pop a little bit of glue on the other end there. And probably by the time I've held this for a few seconds, that's going to have adhered. And I'm also just going to put a little bit of glue on the bottom just to hold all of those layers of felt in place. Then I can put that to one side to dry. And then the second flower we're going to make, this time I'm going to cut a piece of fabric about 1/2 inch or maybe just over 1 centimeter. Again, don't worry about this being exact. So let's just chop across here. Obviously, if you want bigger flowers, then you can cut a wider strip. And then across the top here, I'm going to cut arch shapes. Now, don't worry about these being uniform, you know, exactly the same size or perfectly even, because these are going to form the petals. When you look at petals on actual flowers, very rarely are they uniform. But once this is all rolled up, you're really not going to notice any kind of uneven petals or wobbly cutting. Then, just like before, we'll roll it up. So I'm having my glue to hand again, a little spot on the end just at the bottom to get it going, and then roll. So there's no need to put glue all the way across the felt, but just at intervals. And don't pull this too tightly because felt will break when it's, when the felt's rather thin like it is there. That would snap if I pulled it too hard. So just be gentle as you're winding this around. Oh, and again, I use the whole length of the felt strip. So this one is 9 inches wide, or 9 inches long, I should say. Okay, so let's just pop that on the end. And then a little bit of glue just on the end here. And then we'll put that to one side. Then we'll make up the third style. So this time in the yellow, I'm going to cut a circle. You see, I've already made one. I'm going to cut a circle around about 2 inches across. If you have a circle template, then that would work well. But I think that's pretty good for a freehand circle. Again, these don't have to be perfect. And then from the edge, so that's around about 5 centimeters across. I'm going to start at the edge here, and I'm going to cut in a spiral, but make the line wavy. So it's a little bit like the rind of an apple peel, isn't it? As you're peeling away. Again, just take your time. This should be, I don't know, about between 1/4 of an inch and 1/2 an inch, depending on the wave. So between 6 centimeters and a centimeter maybe. And just keep a wobbling. Till you get to a flat bit at the end. And then starting at this end, we're going to start to roll. So again, a little bit of glue on there to hold it just as we go, only a small amount, and wind it up. Now this time I've got that flat bit at the end here, so I'm going to put a little blob of glue all over the base and just fold that over to close it. And that's finished. So again, we'll put this to one side just until the glue dries. When it is dry, as you can see with the previous ones, you can then start to open up the petals like this and really give your little flowers some shape. And the same with the pink one, you can peel the petals back here, make it a little bit larger. And the yellow one, I don't think it really needs it. I think it looks good like that. And then these, we're just going to glue onto the side of our bucket. And this time I'm going to use a hot glue gun because this is going to set almost instantly and it's really withstanding. But do be very careful if you're using one of these. They are very hot from experience. Okay, I'm only going to put 3 of the flowers on here. You could cover the whole bucket if you wanted to. Lay this down. So let's have the blue one on first of all. So a nice big dollop. And I'm just going to pop that to one side. Then I think we'll have the yellow one just to the side of that here. Whoops. And the little pink one underneath again. You will, if you haven't used a glue gun before, you will have these kind of strands of glue, which are very satisfying to pick off, I have to say. So that's how we're looking. And I'm just going to add actually a couple of little leaves as well. So I'm going to cut these by hand and it's just kind of a leaf shape really. So just cut an arc like so. And we'll have 2 of those. Doesn't matter if they're different sizes. And again, if you feel more comfortable drawing these on and then cutting them out, then that would work. So I think a little blob of glue here, and that can go in the side. And another. And that can go just at the side like that. So again, if you wanted to add more, then that would work well. That's up to you, but I think that's just quite a nice dainty little posy. So let's just take off those strands of glue and unstick this, and then we're going to make up the little bag. So now I can put my Easter eggs inside, or you may be lucky enough to find an egg that fits this size of bucket, because I'm sure they're out there, and that would look very nice as well. So that's my bucket. And this is how we're going to make the little bag. So I've already cut out my fabric pieces. And again, do take a look in the description box for your measurements. Just going to plug in my iron. Again, sorry about the noise. Turn that up. And then I'm just going to iron the crease out of this fabric, because I don't like working with creasy fabrics. Glue everywhere now. So I'm not using any interfacing. If your fabric is very fine, you may choose to do that. Just looking to see if I got any best press, which I don't, knocking around. You could use a little bit of spray starch or best press if you wanted to make your fabric a bit stiffer. I don't think it needs any kind of interfacing personally. I think we're going to be fine without that, because it's only a small bag. Let's turn you off. Okay, so there's my two fabric pieces. I'm going to sew these right sides together, just along that short edge. And I'm using 1/4 inch or a 6mm seam allowance. And we do that with both pieces. On the lining piece, I'm going to leave a turning gap in the side of about a couple of inches, or about 5 centimeters. So straight down the side. And the same with the lining. There's my turning gap. And carry on sewing. And then we'll open these two pieces out. So I'm just creasing the side opposite the seam. Open it out so the seam meets that mark, so the seam's right in the center. And I'm just going to finger press the seam open here. And sew straight across the bottom. And the same with the lining piece. So make a crease on the opposite side to the seam. Let's open it up so the seam meets that crease mark. Finger press the seam open. And sew straight across the bottom. Then you're going to take a ruler and marking pen and draw a 1-inch square in each corner from where your stitch line is. So here's my stitch line. So let's measure 1 inch from there, 1 inch across. Make a box shape, and the same on this side. So again, from the stitch line, not from the bottom. And the same on the outer piece. And then we'll cut those out. And do this on both the outer and on the lining pieces. Then we're going to pull these open to square off the base of the little bag. So just pull that so that that base seam is sitting right in the middle. You've got a nice straight line there, and we're just going to sew straight across the end. I'm not worried about the seam being open on the bottom of this, but again, you could finger press that open if you wish. Same on this side. Let's pull this open and sew straight across. And then we'll do the same on the outer bag. And we'll turn the outer bag the right side out. Let's push out those corners and drop this inside the lining, and I'm going to just have the seams matching on the back. So just arrange this so that the top edges meet all the way around. And then we're going to sew all the way around the top. This is going to be too small to use the free arm on your sewing machine. So I find it easier to just slip this under the needle and sew from the inside. And I wouldn't pin, to be honest. I just think this is so small. The pins are going to get in the way, and it's just as easy to line up the edges of the two sections as you're sewing. And then let's turn this the right side out through that little turning gap that we left. And I'll need to sew that opening closed. You can do that by hand if you wish, but just for speed's sake, I'm going to sew that by machine. So I've just folded it so that the edges of the gap are to the inside, and I'm going to sew very close to the fold. So I've got a tiny seam. Just going to pop the iron on for a second, let it warm up. And then we'll push the lining inside the bag. Again, making sure that the corners are really pushed into the bottom. And I'm just going to iron just around the top. So I'm not going to top stitch around here because, well, you could do. Might be a little bit fiddly, but I don't think it needs it. But if you wanted to add a row of stitches around here, then that's absolutely fine. Maybe decorative stitches if you have them. But I think because the bag's so small, it'll stay in place just like it is. And then that's finished now. If you wanted to, don't know where that came from, you could fold over the top, and that makes a nice little border around the top. Not too far, because we still want to pop a drawstring around here. So then we're going to take our little bucket of eggs and drop this inside. Should be a perfect fit. And then I'm just going to tie a ribbon around the top. So just wrap that around and tie it into a bow. Just arrange the top again so that you can see the inside of the lining, because I think that's a nice contrast. And I can trim that ribbon back a little bit. And my little bucket of Easter eggs is all ready to give as an Easter gift. So I think you'll agree you've got a very sweet, a very affordable little gift that you can give to anybody at Easter time, or of course all year round. It doesn't have to be Easter eggs that you pop inside here. So I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I hope you make lots of them and enjoy every one of them. And I shall see you again very soon. Bye-bye.